Besieged. A few days after my trip to Gargantola, Nilima returned from her travels full of news of the world outside. Almost in passing, she said, "And as for Morichapi, there are soon going to be developments." My ears pricked up. What developments? The government is going to take measures, very strong measures. I said nothing but began to wonder if there was any way I could get word to Kusum to warn the settlers. As it turned out, no warning was possible. The very next day, the government announced that all movement in and out of Morichapi was banned under the provisions of the Forest Preservation Act. What was more, Section 144, the law used to quell civil disturbances, was imposed on the whole area. This meant it was a criminal offense for 5 people or more to gather in one place. As the day wore on, waves of rumors came sweeping down our rivers. It was said that dozens of police boats had encircled the island. Tear gas and rubber bullets had been used. The settlers had been forcibly prevented from bringing rice or water to Morijapi. Boats had been sunk. People had been killed. The rumors grew more and more disturbing as the day passed. It was as if war had broken out in the quiet recesses of the Tide country. For Nilam's sake, I tried to keep up appearances, to present as normal a front as I could, but I could not sleep that night, and by the time morning came, I knew I would make my way to Morijapi in whatever way I could, even at the expense of a confrontation with Nilima. But fortunately, that contingency did not arise. Not yet, anyway. Early in the morning, a group of schoolmasters came to see me. They had heard the same rumors I had, and they too had become concerned. So much so that they had hired a botboti to take them to Morijapi to see if any intercession was possible. They asked if I wanted to join them, and I was only too glad to say yes. We left at about 10 in the morning and were in view of our destination within a couple of hours. I could say here that Morichapi is a large island, one of the biggest in the whole Tide country. Its coastline is probably almost 20 kilometers in length. When we were within sight of the island, but still a good 2 or 3 kilometers away, we saw clouds of smoke rising above it. Not long afterwards, we spotted official motorboats patrolling the rivers. The owner of our botboti now became quite concerned, and we had to plead with him to take us a little closer. He agreed to do so, but only on the condition that we stay close to the near shore, as far as possible from the island, and so we proceeded, hugging this shore, while all our eyes were turned in the other direction, towards Morijapi. Soon we drew close to a village. A great number of people had gathered on the shore, and they were busily loading a boat, not a botboti or a sailboat, but a plain country nuko of the kind Horin owned. Even from a distance we could see that the boat was being stocked with a cargo of provisions, sacks of grain and jerry cans of drinking water. Then a number of people climbed into the boat, mainly men, but also a few women and children. Some, no doubt, were day laborers who'd gone to work on some other island and had been unable to return home. As for the others, perhaps they were people who had been separated from their families and were trying to get back to their homes in Morichapi. Whatever their reasons for going, clearly they were pressing enough to make them take the risk of cramming themselves into that frail craft. By the time the boat was pushed into the water, there must have been a good 2 dozen people sitting huddled inside. The boat wobbled as it drifted out into the currents. It was so heavily loaded that it seemed incredible that it would actually stay afloat. Watching from a distance, we speculated excitedly. These settlers were evidently hoping to slip through the police cordon with some provisions to bring relief to their fellow islanders. What would the police do? Everyone offered a different theory. Then, as if to put an end to our speculations, a police speedboat came roaring down the Bagna River. Moving at great speed, it drew level with the settlers' rowboat and began to circle around it. There was a loudspeaker on the police boat, and even though we were a good distance away, snatches of the policemen's orders reached us across the waters. They were telling the settlers to turn back, to return to the shore they had come from. What was said in answer we could not hear, but we could tell from the gesticulations of the people on the boat that they were pleading with the policemen to let them proceed. This had the effect of enraging the policemen, who now began to scream into their loudspeaker. Suddenly, like a thunderclap, came the noise of a gunshot fired into the air. Surely the settlers would turn back now? In our hearts we prayed they would, but what happened instead was something unforeseen. The people in the boat began to shout in unison, Amrakara! Bastuhara! Who are we? We are the dispossessed. How strange it was to hear this plaintive cry wafting across the water. It seemed at that moment not to be a shout of defiance, but rather a question being addressed to the very heavens, not just for themselves, but on behalf of a bewildered humankind. Who indeed are we? Where do we belong? And as I listened to the sound of those syllables, it was as if I were hearing the deepest uncertainties of my heart being spoken to the rivers and the tides. Who was I? Where did I belong? In Calcutta or in the Tide country? In India or across the border? In prose or in poetry? Then we heard the settlers shouting, a refrain answering the question they had themselves posed. Morichapi Charbona. Will not leave Morichapi. Do what you may. Standing on the deck of the Botboti, I was struck by the beauty of this. Where else could they belong? Where else could you belong except in the place you refused to leave? I joined my feeble voice to theirs. Morichapi Charbona. It had not struck me to ask how the policemen in their motorboat would interpret these cries. The motorboat, which had been idling for a few minutes, started up its engine. Its bow came around and it began to move away from the settlers. At first, it seemed the policemen might have decided to look the other way and let the boat pass. That their intention was utterly otherwise became clear when the motorboat wheeled around in the water. Picking up speed, it came shooting towards the wobbling Muko with its boatload of passengers and provisions. It hit the boat square in the middle. In front of our eyes, the timbers flew apart. Suddenly, the water was full of struggling men and women. It occurred to me that Kusum and Fokir might be on that boat. My heart stopped. On our Botboti, we shouted to the pilot to move closer so that we could be of help. He was hesitant, afraid of the police, but we persuaded him that the police would not harm a group of schoolmasters, that he had nothing to fear. We edged closer, moving slowly so as not to hit anyone in the water. Leaning over the side, we extended our hands and pulled in 1, 2, a dozen people. The water fortunately was not deep and many were able to wade ashore. I asked one of the men we had pulled in, "Do you know Kusum Mandol? Was she on the boat?" He knew her. He shook his head. She was still on the island, he told me, and I was giddy with relief. Little did I know how things were shaping up there. Soon the policemen came speeding up to us. "Who are you people?" they demanded to know. "What are you doing here?" They paid no heed to answers. They told us that with Section 144 having been declared, we could be arrested for unlawful assembly. We were just schoolmasters. Most of the men had families, children. We quailed. We went to the shore to drop off the people we had pulled from the water, and then we turned back. My pen is out of ink and I must switch to my pencil stub. Every footstep I hear is a reminder that Kusum and Horen will soon be back, and that Horen will want to leave at once, but I cannot stop. There's too much to tell. Words. Ensconced in Nirmala's study, Kanai forgot about dinner. He was still reading when the compound's generator shut down and the lights went off. He knew there was a kerosene lamp somewhere in the study and he was fumbling for it in the dark when he heard a footfall in the doorway. Kanai, Babu? It was Moina holding a candle. Do you need a match? She said. I came to get the tiffin carrier and saw you still hadn't eaten. I was on my way down, said Kanai. I was just looking for the hurricane lamp. There it is. Moina went over to the lamp, candle in hand, and snapped back the glass cover. She was trying to light the wick when her hands slipped, sending both the lamp and the candle crashing to the floor. The glass shattered and the study was suddenly filled with the acrid smell of kerosene. The candle had rolled into a corner, and although the flame was out, Kanai saw that the wick was still glowing. Quick! Falling to his knees, he lunged for the candle. Pinch out the wick or it'll set fire to the kerosene. The whole place will burn down. He took the candle out of Moina's hands and squeezed the glowing wick between finger and thumb. It's all right. It's out now. We just have to sweep up the glass. I'll do it, Kanai Babu, she said. It'll be quicker if we both do it. Kneeling beside her, Kanai began to brush his hands gingerly over the floor. Why did you let your dinner get cold, Kanai Babu? Moina said. Why didn't you eat? I was busy getting ready for tomorrow, Kanai said. You know we're leaving early in the morning. I'm going too. Yes, said Moina. I heard, and I'm glad you're going, Kanai Babu. Why? Said Kanai. Are you tired of bringing me my meals? No, she said. It's not that. Then? I'm just glad that you'll be there, Kanai Babu. That they won't be alone. Who? The two of them. Her voice was suddenly serious. You mean Fakir and Pia? Who else, Kanai Babu? I was really relieved when I heard you are going to be with them. To tell you the truth, I was hoping you would talk to him a little. To Fakir? Talk about what? About her, the American, Moina said. Maybe you could explain to him that she's only here for a few days. That she's going to be gone soon. But he knows that, doesn't he? He could hear her sari rustling in the darkness as she pulled it tightly around herself. It would be good for him to hear it from you, Kanai Babu. Who knows what he's begun to expect, especially when she's given him so much money. Maybe you could speak with her too, just to explain she would do him harm if she made him forget himself. But why me, Moina? Kanai said. What can I say? Kanai Babu, there's no one else who knows how to speak to both of them, to her and to him. It's you who stands between them. Whatever they say to each other will go through your ears and your lips. But for you, neither of them will know what is in the mind of the other. Their words will be in your hands, and you can make them mean what you will. I don't understand, Moina, Kanai said, frowning. What are you saying? What exactly are you afraid of? She is a woman, Kanai Babu. Moina's voice sank to a whisper. And he's a man. Kanai glared at her in the dark. I'm a man too, Moina, he said. If she had to choose between me and Fakir, whom do you think it would be? Moina's reply was non-committal and slow in coming. How am I to know what she has in her heart, Kanai Babu? Her hesitation provoked Kanai. And you, Moina? Whom would you choose if you could? Moina said quietly, What are you asking, Kanai Babu? Fakir is my husband. But you're such a bright, capable girl, Moina, said Kanai insistently. Why don't you forget about Fokir? Can't you see that as long as you're with him, you'll never be able to achieve anything? He's my son's father, Kanai Babu, Moina said. I can't turn my back on him. If I do, what will become of him? Kanai laughed. Moina, it's true he's your husband. But then why can't you talk to him yourself? Why do you want me to do it for you? It's because he's my husband that I can't talk to him, Kanai Babu, Moina said quietly. Only a stranger can put such things into words. Why should it be easier for a stranger than for you? Because words are just air, Kanai Babu, Moina said. When the wind blows on the water, you see ripples and waves. But the real river lies between, unseen and unheard. You can't blow on the water's surface from below, Kanai Babu. Only someone who's outside can do that. Someone like you. Kanai laughed again. Words may be air, Moina, but you have a nice way with them. He stood up and went to the desk. Tell me, Moina, don't you ever wonder what it would be like to be with a different kind of man? Aren't you ever curious? He had said it in a light, mocking way, and this time he succeeded in provoking her. She rose angrily to her feet. Kanai Babu, you are just making a fool of me, aren't you? You want me to say yes and then you'll laugh in my face. You'll tell everybody what I said. I may be a village girl, Kanai Babu, but I'm not so foolish as to answer a question like that. I can see that you play this game with every woman who crosses your path. This struck home and he flinched. Don't be angry, Moina, he said. I didn't mean any harm. He heard her sari rustling as she rose to her feet and pulled the door open. Then in the darkness he heard her say, Kanai Babu, I hope it goes well for you with the American. It'll be better for all of us that way.